Friends, this is my second cemetery for today. We were over at the LITHIA Baptist Church Cemetery. Friends, that's where I saw them demons, those silly demons that tried to scare me. They did, friends. But look, friends, we're at Cedar Grove now. I got some veterans. We got to get these veterans' headstones squared away. That's what we do, everybody. We clean the headstones for the veterans. It's one of the many duties. One of the many duties. So, friends, you want to come out here, get yourself a nice bucket, friends. Friends, we got Girly Man Awareness Month. That's why we got the nice pink bucket for all you girly men. I know, is it college football today? What's the big score? The score is a big game. What's the score? I don't know. How can y'all look in the mirror and have any kind of self-respect? You just sit around and get drunk and watch football all day long. I just can't understand it. I won't stand for it. And neither should you. What are you gonna do when you're before Jesus and he asks you, I gave you all this time off, and you sat around and played Call of Duty and watched football? Football! At least when I was playing Call of Duty, I was actually doing something. When you're watching football, you're literally doing nothing except watching a bunch of other people do things. I ain't gonna stand for it, friends. And just like I told you, neither should you. All right, look, friends. I just had me a Korean hot dog, friends. That thing's been sitting there for about a week. I can tell, friends, it was a little chewy. But it's all right. Oh, let me turn the charger on. Friends, I can't drive all the way back to my house. That'd be a waste of gas. The gas is coming down a little bit. It was over $4 a week ago. It's $3.80, 80 something. But friends, I'm a stinking soldier. I just forgot to pack me some MREs. So look, we're gonna top off the water. And we're gonna get the closest headstone's right over here. It's a World War II soldier. Look, everybody, your community, it don't matter where you live. You got a cemetery near you that needs a little bit of maintenance. Friends, you don't need permission to do these things. You just go out and do it. And if anyone starts hollering at you, you just tell them your sergeant major told you to come out here and get the job done. And friends, that don't work. You just tell me where you are, and I'll just show up there, and I'll have to put one of these demons down one of the holes, friends. There's holes everywhere. Friends, at every cemetery all over the country, there's holes for people that want to cause problems. But friends, we don't condone any violence here. All right, everyone, let's get to work. Bring us a little hydration, a little water. Look, everyone, if you're new to the channel, thank you so much for joining. It's a pleasure, truly, to have y'all here. I've been doing the social media, you know, not really seriously, but I've been doing it for a couple years now. Friends, I don't want to complain, but I've literally lost like at least five, but maybe 7 of my YouTube channels. YouTube, they just didn't like the medicine that we were pushing here. Because I was going after some of y'all's demons. Who is that? Who logged on here? Whoever you are, I'm so glad you're there. Look, we're out in the cemetery. We're getting the damn job done. But friends, I'm working in the cemeteries now. You know, I'm working. I'm doing the job. And believe it or not, we got a ceremony that we're doing here next Sunday. I don't just do the Confederate soldiers' headstones, friends. I do everybody's. I mean, all the veterans for now. But as soon as I start getting some of those, friends, when I talk about your contributions are well overdue. Friends, I got a 501c3. Head over to the Grizzly Army immediately, friends. Friends, log off here now. If you hadn't donated, you're not allowed to watch. Friends, I'm just kidding around. But if I can get some donations, I can buy more D2, friends, and I can do all the headstones. I'll just put all the D2 in my nice sprayer here, and I'll just go to town on the whole cemetery. Friends, I was out here yesterday, and I sprayed. Friends, I flushed it out real good for like 10 minutes. But I sprayed the whole cemetery here with the Roundup. And little Lukey got on to me. He goes, "You're going to be dead here in a couple of years because of the cancer." So next time, friends, we're going to do the homebrew. But look, everyone, I sprayed out here yesterday, and already the weeds are dying. Imagine what it did to me. All right, hold on here, everyone. Get you turned around. We were on Facebook earlier, and I figured I'd bounce over here for a little while. But this is the new thing, everyone. We're doing the headstones because somebody has to do it. Hold on, let me get this tripod squared away. Again, everyone, if you're new to the channel, we do a lot of stuff. We do a lot of goofy stuff. I love doing the goofy stuff, you know. I'm a goofball by trade, you know, and you know, you got to be serious sometimes, and some topics are really you got to be serious about. But look, everyone, you hose it down real good. Hose it, hose it, hose it. We're gonna spray just a little D2 on it. This one should come pretty clean. Oh no, that's the bleach. How did that one get in there? We don't use bleach. Just a little bit, little bit. I don't know what kind of algae or whatever this is on here, but these come off pretty. You can use the granite gold. It tends to work pretty good. So we'll scrub it, we'll let it sit, and then we'll rinse it. I hope everyone's Saturday's going well. Look, everyone, we're out in the field, so I'll probably lose service, so just bear with us. We'll edit some shorts later on. Put in all the cool sound effects that y'all love. Look, friends, I don't use power tools out here. Those were sound effects. That was just so damn funny. If anybody knows what kind of algae this is, I would love to know. I need to know a little more about my enemy and how to defeat it. It's like this red mucky stuff. All right, look, friends, I got the blue for the bleach, so we're gonna. I do not want to make a mistake, so we're gonna throw the bleach over there so they don't come along with us. Look how nice that looks. So we'll clean it off and we'll spray some D2 on it just to set for the 15 minutes. Because I like to scrub it to get all the. It just makes it easier, in my opinion, for the D2 to work. Or maybe not. I don't know. See, I got the D2. I don't have much left, but we got all the Confederate soldiers that I could find, and we got more coming in a week. So just spray it on. Yeah, whatever, this like red algae or something. It's pretty gross. All right. So we'll come back in 15 minutes. Let this thing do it. All right, so we're just going around. There's a lot of soldiers in this cemetery. Hold on. Oh, I gotta charge my phone. I got it on the. Okay. All right. So we're gonna start in the north quadrant. The northwest, and we'll just work our way. Put this bleach in. Friends, I do carry bleach. I mean, I don't do it on the headstones. All right, so we got that one. We'll let it wait. If I can get some volunteers out here and I get some donations, I want to get all these headstones cleaned. Wouldn't it be nice to have all the headstones in our little community, Brandon, Lithia, Hillsborough County, to get them all squared away? I know, I certainly think they would be. So I sprayed the weeds, so they should be done here in about a week. What's this? It's like some rust on this marine. Hold on here. Okay. Vietnam. rust or something on here. Let's see if we can kind of get some of it off. Try a little granite gold on this. For instance, granite gold, it's safe for headstones and it's food grade, so, or so they say. This is like rust or something. Huh. But look, these were green yesterday. I sprayed it with the cancer killer. Friends, I don't know what that is. That's like rust or something. I don't want to mess too much. All right, let's roll, everyone. My goal is to get all these done before the day's over. So we got that soldier. We got to come back and spray him. Here we are. Here we are. This one's going to look real nice. See, when I was out here a year ago, I said, my goodness, these headstones need a lot of work. But I didn't know how to do it without doing something wrong. But Miss Linnell taught me, so here we are. Soak it down real nice. Hey, for those of y'all that are experts in doing it, correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't the water kind of like open up pores in the stone? D2. This is the last of it, so we're gonna just use a little bit. Oh man, I should not have eaten that last Korean dog. I should have just taken my chances out here with an empty stomach. Oh, I'm gonna be a casualty of food poisoning out here. Ain't gonna be nobody come help me because I'm out in the middle of nowhere again. Well, maybe they'll find me tomorrow at church in the morning. Yeah. So this one's gonna be one of the ones where we'll come back in a week and it'll be nice and white. Because this stuff takes a while. It literally gets into the pores of the stone and it kills the algae or whatever the hell this stuff is. It's biodegradable, so it's not chemical based. I guess that's why it's so expensive. So we'll just do a light scrub and then we'll come back in a little bit and we'll let the D2 do its job. I'll show you the headstone that we did about 2 weeks ago. It looked worse than both of these, and I scrubbed and scrubbed and scrubbed, and it still looked pretty bad when we left. But when I was out here yesterday, it looked brand new because this stuff continues to work. So you're not always going to get a nice, satisfying video like some of the ones I've done where you just hose it down and it's completely brand new looking. Nice little circles. All right. We'll let that one sit and we'll come back in a little bit. So if I can get some more volunteers to come out here, and I had some donations, we could go to all these little cemeteries, and get them all squared away. Wouldn't that be nice? Let me think. Yeah, there's a few down here. Friends, Cedar Grove, I've been coming out here for about 2 years now. And this isn't a knock on the folks that run the church. But this place looked horrible the first time I came out here. It's because they're older. They don't have a lot of young volunteers to come out and do what I'm doing. And who's got the money to pay? Oh, I think there's a real nasty one over here. Friends, it probably costs, I don't know. Oh yeah, that's a good one here. Friends, if I had to charge someone, if I was going to charge to do this, I'd probably charge $60 an hour. I mean, this is manual labor out here. And the chemicals are very expensive. It's dangerous. Friends, I got stung by a bee at the last site we were at. That's true. All right, let's take a look at this one. Oh. But everybody, I run a ministry, so we don't charge. This is just what we do to handle our own little stress. That the United States government was so generous to give us all that post-traumatic stress from all these endless, pointless wars. Friends, I'm not a real sergeant major. I just play one on TV. I literally retired as a sergeant first class. I was on the E8 list. For 2 years, I was on the list. I was number 2 and number 2. Because the admin guy, he messed up my qual, friends. I shot expert that last time, and he marked me down as like marksman, so it took a lot of work. I didn't get the number 1 spot. I didn't get picked up as the first sergeant, the master sergeant EA. And that was like 2019, right before the COVID. So I said, no, I did 20 years, I'm out of here. And I'm so glad I did. Friends, look how nasty this one is. I think this one's going to be pretty nice. Oh yeah, this one's good. I think it's pretty good. One thing about my military, I didn't always believe in the mission, but I always believed in my soldiers. I love my soldiers. I lost opportunities because of my soldiers. I got counselings because of my soldiers. Friends, I told you the story about that perverted neighbor, Jason Shorts. The man fired me because of my soldiers. I didn't even have a unit for a little while. I was like homeless in the guard. And then they found me a platoon sergeant slot over in the radar platoon. And I was the radar platoon sergeant for a couple years. I literally took the worst platoon in the battalion, and when I was done with them in about 6 months, this is not a lie, everyone. I had I had one of my soldiers and an NCO both go for Soldier of the Year and NCO of the Year, and they won. They won. Because the guy that was running it, well, he just didn't care. He had short timer syndrome, and he didn't care, everybody. So friends, when I talk about leadership, I truly mean it. You know, if you're a good leader, you question the right things, and you stick up for your soldiers when it's appropriate. You gain the respect out of your men. Well, friends, you become like almost invincible. But you know, the admin stuff's still gonna catch up with you. I love being in the guard. I really did. But every good thing's gotta come to. So this one's not white. This one's that granite that has the nice colors. I think this one's gonna turn out real nice when it's done here in a minute. I can already see it white. So check it out. Get these headstones squared away. I need more folks out here. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that. If I could get like 5 to 10, we could spend a Saturday and we could do every headstone in the cemetery. But friends, D2's $80, $90 a gallon. So my little nice backpack here holds about 4 gallons. So if I could fill up this thing with D2, I could spray the whole cemetery. And then y'all can come behind me and scrub it. And then somebody else can go behind them and hose it off in 15, 20 minutes. And then the whole cemetery is free. Now, friends, you might ask the question. Come over here, please. Hold on, are we still live or did we lose signal? Friends, you may ask the question, why would I want to waste my time going out here and doing this kind of stuff? Well, friends, I don't know. Maybe because there's not a lot of things that we can control in our lives. Friends, can you control the government? Friends, when I was in the National Guard, they told us, you're going to Afghanistan. And then a few months of train up at Camp Shelby, Mississippi, and we were there. Friends, can you control your politicians, our local government here in Hillsborough County? Friends, I don't like them. I think they're horrible. They don't get the job done. Friends, can you control the sheriff and his group of misfit clowns that just want to get drunk on duty, cheat, lie, and steal, but then hold you accountable? Friends, you can't control those things, I'm explaining to you. But what we can control is these little things, these little hidden treasures, as I like to call them. Unless you're Ed Lou over there at the Petro Alderman Cemetery, friends, ain't nobody gonna care you coming out here cleaning up their cemetery. They're gonna actually like it because maybe they're too old to do it. And look, friends, it's very rewarding as well. So this right here is something that you and me and other like-minded folks like us, we can control, you know? It's very peaceful out here. I ain't got no nagging anybody. Nobody's bothering me. And I'm doing something that's very rewarding. And as we read the Bible and learn the Bible, friends, we're supposed to put our treasures up in heaven, you know? Now, I'm not doing this so Jesus will give me an attaboy. I'm doing it because I feel closer to God when I'm out here doing this type of stuff. It's selfless. I'm doing something that these people will friends, this man's dead. This man will never know I was out here. Unless he truly was a Christian, then he's out here with the Holy Spirit. And imagine a family member that maybe has a hard time coming out here because it looks so bad. Imagine them coming out and seeing it all clean. They'll be like, oh my gosh, like, there is still people that care in our world, in our country. Friends, I talk about the Brandon Roots. That's an organization I met about a month or so ago. And before I met those folks, I didn't think there was anybody like me out there. Because I couldn't get nobody to help me do nothing. In fact, I had the opposite of help. I had a lot of hindrance. I had a lot of folks in the family just not want to have any understanding of why I do things the way I do it. Oh, he's difficult with authority. He don't like authority. Friends, I don't like authority. Because authority on earth is run by men, and man is corrupted. Now, that don't mean I was a bad soldier. I always followed, well, let me take that back. I followed every legal and lawful order. And then when I had some folks, one or two, that tried to push the envelope with me, well, friends, it cost me my position. But they never took my integrity away. And then some time passed, and those folks actually reached out and apologized, friends. It's just being humble. All right, let's take a look at this. Enough of me jibber-jabbering. Wow, this one's looking pretty good. Now, friends, I don't have the D2 to clean the whole grave. I'm just worried about the headstone. Oh, cool. Cool. So, friends, if you live in the Tampa Bay area, if you live in Brandon, give me a holler, friends. I got a work number. Go to my website, grizzlyarmy.com. And, friends, here's the best part. You don't need anyone's permission to come out here and do this. Friends, what are they going to do? Call the police because you're out here cleaning up a cemetery? Well, I told you, friends, you just stay away from Ed Lou. The man pulled a gun on me, everyone. That's a true story. Broke my heart. But I didn't know that cemetery was private. They had the gate wide open. They had a sign saying, if you'd like to volunteer, call this lady. And I did, and the lady was real nasty on the phone with me and hung up. So I just went out there and cleaned it up. But friends, this is how I handle my post-traumatic stress from the war. That's true, friends. It's true. Friends, I did work for the Department of Veteran Affairs. I know a lot of y'all know that. I wasn't, not to knock the, friends, I wasn't in like a low paying position job. I was a peer support specialist for many years. So I went to work every day and I helped other soldiers handle the stress. I wish I would have known about this. I would have had them out there cleaning up cemeteries like I'm doing now. But friends, the VA was the most wickedest, evilest organization that I've ever had to even spend any time in. And that's true. And I know a lot of you veterans know that because y'all, unfortunately, we all have to get our care there. Some of us do. So friends, you can't control those things. Oh, friends, I forgot to tell you, if you didn't remember, I'm master level trained, everybody. I can't tell you I got a master's degree because I don't. But if we hadn't had Anthony Fauci's pandemic, friends, I would have been a mental health counselor at the VA. That's true, everyone. I was one semester away from getting my master's. But friends, I pay attention. So all that training's still up in here. Why do you think I'm training y'all free of charge? Oh, look how beautiful. So look, everybody, what I'm trying to explain to you is, if you're suffering, if you got a little issues, now friends, you got to be able to get out here in the heat and do this. This is kind of like being in the field, like being in the military. I got stung by a bee at the last cemetery like an hour ago, but it didn't really get me. It got my khakis. Nice. Now you can actually read it. So look, friends, if you gotta, and I know you do, I don't care where you live. Friends, here's your homework assignment for the next week or two. Coming straight from your Sergeant Major here. Friends, you're gonna go find yourself a little cemetery. Friends, I know wherever y'all live, there's a cemetery. I mean, don't go to one that's like a mainstream one where they got the long crew out there all the time. You might actually get in trouble. Friends, go find you an older one, like the one we got out here. That maybe somebody mows it, but you know they don't have the money or the funds or the volunteers to do the rest. And friends, you just get out there and start working. And then the first opportunity you have to introduce yourself to maybe one of the clergy or someone, you just explain to them. You say, look, you know, I like to give back, and I watched this guy on YouTube, and his name's Sergeant Major. He's not a real Sergeant Major. He was an E7, promotable. And the man told me to stop feeling sorry for myself. Start praying that Jesus remove my alcohol and drug addiction. He will, if it's in his plan. And get your butt out here and get to work, friends. It's hard to be depressed when you're out here doing stuff. I mean, seeing all the children buried out here, that's a little sad, but it'll give you some reflection on your own life. Oh, here's another one over here. 2 of them. And all these cemeteries I go to, there's a lot of children buried out here. And some of y'all that have been following my story for a while, I wasn't allowed to be around my children for the better part of the last couple of years because the devil had tricked some of the family members. But friends, we're all doing well. Again, everybody, when you learn to get spiritual, friends, when I talk about getting spiritual, I'm talking about relationship with Jesus. I ain't talking about seances and all that other nonsense. That's all of the devil. Friends, I'm talking about Jesus Christ of Nazareth, my Lord and Savior. You got to get a relationship with him. Now, for me, friends, it was coming out of these cemeteries over the last 2 years, and really getting to work. Friends, when Jesus, sometimes to get your attention, he'll take things away from you. And again, friends, that spiritual thing I'm telling you about. Friends, God is in control of everything. Friends, when you start learning about this stuff, God is actually, it's up to God to allow whatever the devil does. Now, that was hard for me to understand. God's in control of every single thing that happens and fails to happen. Like, if you really want a job, then train. But somehow that job don't come through. God was in control of that. First, look at my situation. I had my dream job at the Department of Veteran Affairs. So when I got that job, I was like, thank you, Jesus. You allowed me to have my dream job. And it was, everybody. Friends, I was making like $80,000 a year at the time. Working in the AC. And we were out in the field a lot, too. As the assistant chief of voluntary service. Friends, it was the best job in the world. Because it was like I was a platoon sergeant again. But more like the first sergeant always wanted to be. As a federal government employee, I was in the executive career field. And when I was a peer support specialist, I had a hard time with all my supervisors because a lot of them were very incompetent. And I would always say, my goodness, I could do your job like 100 times better than you. And I could have. Not trying to be rude, but it's just true. friends, one of my goals was to be a supervisor in the Department of Veteran Affairs, and God allowed that to happen. But then God allowed the devil to do the hostile work environment to me. And I was right around, friends, I was looking at the same time that I needed Jesus to take my alcohol addiction out of me, and he did. And I thought, oh cool, he's going to be so groovy now, I'm sober. But friends, that's when all the evil at the workplace like got amplified on me. Bay Pines Veterans Hospital, friends. That's where I used to work. And friends, it's real tragic. Friends, that place is named after a congressman, C.W. Bill Young. Friends, I never met the guy because he died in 2013. But everything I heard, he was a good man. You know, I don't know, longest serving Republican. Maybe he wasn't. But friend, his son was arrested for being a... Friends, I don't want to get banned. I'm doing really good on the live streams. Friends, his son was starting an inappropriate relationship with a 15-year-old child. Friends, ain't that horrible? What's with all these politicians and all their family members being all perverted? But friends, I'm not here to gloat, you know. I'm not saying I knew these things, but I knew that place was rotten. Because it's of this world, everybody. Again, God allowed me to have my dream job. And I really thought when I worked there, I said, wow, I'm going to prove myself to these people. I know they probably don't like me because I'm a Christian, but I'm going to prove myself to them. Friends, I had a lot more learning to do. Nice. But again, everyone, God allowed all that stuff to happen. And he was testing me to see how I was going to react to it. And I'll admit in the beginning, I did a lot of YouTube and social media, and I probably should. And I lost a lot of channels. And going after the incompetent sheriff of Hillsborough County, friends, maybe I shouldn't have done that either. But friends, again, I was proven right. Every time I do one of these little protests, I might have to spend a couple days in jail or do a silly Baker Act or something. Maybe the family turns on me and I don't get to see my children for a little while. But friends, I always come out on top because I trust Jesus. Friends, let me ask y'all a question. What happened to all of Jesus' disciples, his apostles? What happened to them? Did they all wind up in like mansions and live out their lives on earth like in glory? Well, friends, I think all of them got murdered. They got persecuted. So as I have been on this journey and I've been learning, I don't have any fear anymore, everyone. That's why I'm out here doing these things. It don't pay no money, but I'm not worried about money. I don't chase after the earthly things like I used to. And I'm fully aware now that everything I have in my life is because God has allowed me to have it for the last time, friends. Friends, I do live in a nice house. I'm not trying to gloat. But about 4 months ago, I was homeless. Living in an RV. Oh, this one's gonna be real nice. You see, friends, Jesus allowed me to not get that promotion in the Army, National Guard. Because he knew that if I had, well, I'm just saying, I don't know what God, I'm not trying to speak for God. But friends, I know if I'd gotten that promotion, I'd still be in the Guard. I'd be a sergeant, I'd be a real sergeant major right now, friends. Oh yeah, all right, let's do the big reveal. So I guess what I'm trying to say, everyone, is if you got little struggles going on in your life, and I know you do, there ain't nobody. Friends, did you hear what I just told you? A congressman's son in the place that I used to work that's named after him. And I had to work with his widow. And she was, I thought she was a nice lady. But it turns out she's just as wicked as the rest of us. And she sent me a really nasty text message, friends. I can't believe it. I deleted it. But friends, you can have all the money and all the fame, and you're still going to be like the rest of us. That's why I'm telling y'all, friends, you got to get on these cemeteries. See, this is the only little thing that we can control is this type of stuff. Friends, I don't pay attention to the Trumpster. Yeah, I kind of watch what's going on in the Middle East, but I certainly don't like it. But I'm not going to get no arguments about none of that stuff. It don't matter, friends. It don't matter. Hey, put it in the chat. Is America, United States of America, is it in the Bible? If y'all can find it in the Bible, let me know. But it has to be the new James, King James Bible. So look, we'll come back in a week, and this one will be super duper white. All right, very carefully stand up. Oh. All right, let's see here. How do we do? Well, we can read his name now, Mr. John Henry Sterling. I'm telling you, everybody, y'all give me some donations. I'll go buy a lot of this D2. I'll buy all of it. And I'll just load up my little backpack here, my water trough, and I'll spray the whole cemetery. All right, that looks nice. Okay, who's next? Who's next? Oh, yeah, hold on. So look, we'll give it one more spray over to let it work for the next week or so. We need to head back to the one that we started on, because that one needs to be hosed. All right, let's run. Oh, good grief. Pretty cool, huh? I'm still alive. Friends, I come out here and I don't ever have any service, usually. Okay, looking good. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. That one looks pretty good. But I'm telling you, friends, you come out here, you spend a couple hours in the cemetery, you'll feel pretty good about yourself. Check out this one. Now, this was a Confederate soldier. We cleaned and sprayed like 2 weeks ago. Friends, this thing looks brand new. Because that D2, it works and it works and it works. Oh, what the hell's going on here? Hang on here. No, I don't want no stickers. What the hell? I'm sorry, everybody. Stinking phone. Look, friends, start your own little YouTube channel. Start doing this type of stuff. I'll subscribe. I'll watch it. Friends, here's the best part about this type of stuff. It's not AI, friends. I don't like AI. I don't know if y'all know this. I don't use AI for nothing, friends. Every video you've ever seen from me is me. All right, let's hose this guy off. Wow, I don't even think we could have read that earlier. Hey friends, some of those videos I've been posting over the last 24 hours, that's all from the Wild Boys. Friends, I told you we were wild. Friends, I feel really bad. That one video, we literally took the guy that drive the trash truck in Afghanistan on the base. We literally picked him up and we threw him in a piece of wood because he just wanted to be like the Wild Boys. Everybody wanted to be a part of the Wild Boys squad, but you couldn't. Friends, I'll tell you something really horrible about that video. Friends, I was an E5 sergeant when we did that. And I can't tell you who the man is that was doing all the wrestling stuff. I'll just let you know that the man's in Sergeant Major. He's in the academy right now to be a Sergeant Major. So I don't want to get him in no trouble. But friends, as the sergeant, the NCOIC of that entry control point, friends, I was egging him on. I was the guy video recording. I should have been court-martialed. I should have got 15 for that, for real. My friends, I got statute of limitations. That's why I'm publishing them now. It's been like 26 years. 20 years. You can't touch me now. So look, we'll come back in a week and this thing will be white. Because the D2, it gets into the pores. It kills it. Friends, it stains from the algae, but this stuff gets in it and it literally like just evaporates. It's pretty cool. Oh my gosh, is that one of my friends? I got a beard hair. All right. Oh. Yeah, I wanted to get out here today to get the D2 on these. Because everybody, we got a little ceremony we're going to be doing out here next Sunday. And I want it to look nice. So look, we'll come back in a week and that D2 will eat away at the rest of the garbage. All right, Corporal Steve, that's right. I'm telling you, friends, GrizzlyArmy.com. I do have a 501c3. I'm not going to do no funny business with your money. Oh, look at this. Look how clean it is now. Oh, wait, we already cleaned that one. It's got some stains on it. Friends, when I tell you I'm a man of integrity, I'm not just saying that. You know, like, my integrity has cost me jobs. It cost me my career at the Department of Veteran Affairs. Friends, I was the guy that asked questions. Wait, you want me to do what? Hold on now. This man showed pornography to some children. You want me just to ignore him? Friends, I told you, like, the amount of evil that Jesus had me deal with there. I don't know. A lot of y'all probably would have given into it. But I don't know. I'm not trying to be judgy. I guess the thing is, everyone, I don't like bullies. I don't like bullies. Man, look at this one. Mr. Enoch. Hey, Miss Linnell, if you're watching, I'm just going to hit a little more D2 on him. Friends, can y'all see Mr. Enoch? Are we still alive? So, friends, here's one of the ones we did last week, and it looks real nice. Oh, excuse me. That Korean dog. I'm just going to do a little more, and then this thing should be like white. What a cool headstone. Farewell. This is Mr. Enoch's wife. Go very light on the D2. Because I'm almost out, friends. I haven't got any donations today. But I know y'all are going to fix that. Okay. Not for long. I wonder if I missed this last time. It's like coming off now. Friends, when you come out here, you want to wear clothing. Friends, if you got a pair of khakis. Friends, hey, hold on. Friends, if you can still fit into your khakis. Friends, these are the same khakis I was wearing the day I retired. But friends, you want long sleeve shirts when you come out here to my work parties? Because I don't want you complaining about sunburn. Get you a nice boonie cap. Go to the Army Surplus store. Invest in a couple of items. Trust me, you'll thank me later. So friends, there's not really a uniform to be in the Grizzly Army. That's why we're Grizzly. I mean, we just kind of mix and match whatever we can get our hands on. We haven't got the perverted federal government budget. Friends, there was a hurricane blowing through Tampa, St. Pete area when I worked the job. And Bay Pines, everybody. Bay Pines is like right on the water. And my previous boss, Frank Jones, he had spent a lot of money trying to appease all the liberals there. So he replaced our golf cart fleet with 10 electric golf carts, friends. These things were a nightmare. They never worked. They broke down, just like you would expect. And it cost the taxpayers $250,000, everybody. And where we parked the golf carts was out in the weather, and literally the storm surge was going to wash it away. So that diverted me and Christina Brown. I told her, I said, ma'am, I need to move these golf carts. And she goes, no, you're going to leave them right there. The parking garage is full. Now, friends, I know. The parking garage was not full of government vehicles, friends. Friends, everybody parked their personal cars there that lived in the area because they didn't want their cars to flood. So the lady told me, I kept pressing the issue. I said, I need to get these golf carts. We're going to lose $250,000 of taxpayer money. She slammed her hand on the table, everybody. She goes, Ron, we'll just buy new ones. I told you, friends. I was the right guy for the job, just at the wrong place. But she ain't around no longer, friends. She took the fork in the road. But now you got an equally perverted, unqualified guy named David Van Meter running that place, friends. Well, that's all right, everybody. Again, can we control these things? We can't. That's why you need to get out here. Because you can control your scrubbing. Friends, I'm thinking about starting a GoFundMe account for all of us constituents in Hillsborough County. Friends, at some point, Chad Cronister is going to have to resign. I mean, the man's completely incompetent. He just had another high-ranking official, a major, was caught drinking on the job, friends. Now, friends, you think that was the first time that guy went to work drunk? Friends, the major was in charge of the DUI division. Friends, I can't make this stuff up. Just go look it up yourself. It's been a week, friends. My favorite unqualified sheriff, Chad Cronister, stepped in it again. And then the place that I have to sue with the hostile work environment, well, the congressman is named after. Friends, the son got arrested for doing the PDF stuff, friends. Now, friends, I'm not doing that to tell you I told you so, but friends, I think I told you so. Y'all should have listened to me like 2 years ago. But friends, check it out. We're going to start a GoFundMe account. Because that perverted, unqualified sheriff, Chad Cronister, of Hillsborough County Sheriff, friends, I mean, the man is way over his head. Friends, he's such a narcissist. He has his name literally on every piece of property in Hillsborough County. So, friends, when we get rid of that guy here, probably the next 6 months, it's going to cost us a lot of money to take his name off and put the new sheriff's name on there. So, friends, I think we should do a GoFundMe account and start it. Friends, I'll donate like 50 cents, you know. But that guy literally has his name on every single piece of property in the sheriff's department, friends. Friends, when I was in the county jail, all I saw was Chad Cronister everywhere. It was horrible. Nobody likes that guy. Friends, if you like the Cronister, put it in the chat. I need to have a talk with you, please. But if you're one of these unqualified deputies that got the job for DUI under him, I don't need to hear from you. We already know about you. Perverted, unqualified. Oh, yeah. Friends, should we have empathy for the major that was drunk on duty? My wife tried saying something earlier like, well, it's a disease, alcoholism. And I'm like, I know, honey, because I suffered from it. But I know in a position of authority that I had at the Bay Pines VA, if I had been going to work drunk, they would have literally thrown me in jail, friends. Friends, it's called betrayal of public trust. And the man was in charge of the DUI division. He was the major, friends. Friends, the Mothers Against Drunk Driving gave the guy an award. I told you, friends, we can't fix these problems, and I shouldn't be complaining about it. That's why I'm out here getting the job done in the cemetery. Because I don't see no drunk majors running around trying to throw me back in jail, friends. Or any unqualified detectives trying to trick my family again, friends. Detective. I told you, friends, we found some discrepancies in that perverted demon's transcripts. He ain't even a real detective. This man wouldn't even tell me who he was when he was taking me to jail. He wouldn't even identify himself. We're not wasting nothing. We're trying to get it nice and clean. All right, let's close the on veterans. If y'all are still with us, thank you so much. But look, friends, over here, this one was like black, and this is one of the ones in the video that I was scrubbing. Had the cool music too. Friends, this thing is like perfectly white now. I can't believe it. D2, it works good. Friends, maybe we'll give the Cronkster, maybe we'll just put D2, we'll just dunk his whole department in it and get rid of all the perversions and unqualified DEI hires that they hired over the last 5 years. The D2 seems to work out here, getting rid of all the yuck. Put it in the chat if you think that's a good idea. All right, let's see here. Again, friends, I don't like bullies. I don't like bullies. I don't like people using their position of authority to do bad and evil. And then when they get caught, they just say, oh, well, nothing to see here. Friends, that sheriff murdered, 2 of his incompetent deputies murdered a soldier that needed help. And then he had the nerve to go out there and say, oh, they did the right thing and took a threat off the streets. Again, friends, I need to stop complaining. I can't control none of that. I just can control how many headstones I can get today. But you see, everyone, I'm that guy that asks those questions, you know. I'm the guy that's going to question the authority. I'm going to say, why? How did you come to that conclusion, that decision? You want me to do what now? Why can't you go do it? Ow, oh goodness. Wait, you said he was a threat, but when the media asked your other major if the soldier raised his weapon at your deputies and you couldn't answer it, then I gotta ask the question. Maybe he didn't raise his weapon and y'all were a little unqualified and you just killed him and y'all were scared. Friends, I understand being scared. I was in combat, friends, and there was times I was terrified. Friends, I had an IED blow up right in front of me. I got traumatic brain injury. Friends, hold on. It's my TBI. Friends, I have traumatic brain injury damage because September the 28th of 2005. But friends, that's why you gotta be highly trained. Friends, during that day, I wasn't in control of my body. My training took over. And I paid the price for the next week because every muscle in my body had been exerted to the max. It's called the adrenaline. And friends, it's true, I had to throw away my camis because it had the smell of death and bodies all over it. And I washed them about 5 times and I couldn't get the smell of death. It was horrible. All right, well, that's about as good as we're going to get that one. Oh, friends, I certainly appreciate you spending your Saturday with me. Maybe, well, next Saturday I got things to do, but... Oh. 2 soldiers. Oh, this one, I could probably get this one cleaned up. Lots of them out here. I don't know, that one looks pretty good. I gotta use the D2s sparsely. And there's a few that I remember that are really bad, real bad shape. Like this one right here. Charles Wiggins. All right, Wiggins here was a part of the Army Hospital, the General Hospital. World War I. Interesting. Now I did spray this one yesterday, so I'll probably get it now. But this one should clean up real nice. I don't want to scrub dirt on it, that might scratch it. Yeah, this one's gonna have to sit for a little while. It's really small. Hey everybody, I found a guy, another guy kind of does the same thing I do, but he was actually some of these monuments that get knocked over by storms and vandalisms. He'll go out there and raise them, and he did a really cool video. I think he's up in South Carolina though. It was really neat to see somebody do that. Dirty in there. Yeah, this one's gonna be a week. Come back in a week, it'll be white. And just get all the dirt off, and then we'll hose it one more time. Again, the D2 is not instant. I'm just trying to get a lot of the dirt and top crap off. And then we'll let it sit for a week or so. Well, I'll be out here next Sunday. All right, let's move, soldiers. Drink water. Drink water. All right, this one looks good. See, somebody's been out here cleaning this one up. 2018, it's not that old. All right. That one looks good. You can tell the ones where the families come out and actually clean it, which is nice. But then you got some of these other people, maybe their family's all gone. Yeah, here's one here. This one's real nasty. World War II. Can y'all see? Hold on now. Oh, hey, look, if y'all are making comments, I'm not able to look at them now. All right, take a look at that. All right, here we go. World War II. Ooh, field artillery. Specialist, Tech 4. service battery. That must be like the maintenance, maybe. Maybe they did the maintenance on the guns. Now, friends, look at this right here. Somebody chipped it with their blade on their tractor. And I have not hit one headstone since I've been doing this job, friends. All right. So we'll put a nice coat of the D2 on it. Take our nice... Friends, you don't want to use anything with metal. This is like something you're going to clean your bathroom with, tile, grout stuff. And friends, I'm not the expert. If y'all know something better, please let me know. I'm brand new at this. Oh, yeah. Got it in the dirt. See, another thing I'd like to do eventually is get all these headstones leveled out. You know, I think we're going to need some gravel, definitely some extra sand. These gloves, I tell you, they just don't make nothing. They just don't make nothing else. I need those old leather gloves from the 1990s army that I was in. Now, those were some serious work gloves. Oh yeah, this one's gonna look nice. I can already tell. Oh yeah. Well, still got some leaching. What the hell you call that stuff? Corporal Stevens, scraper, please, please. Oh, yeah. Look, friends, for some of y'all haters out there, friends, I can't explain it. You know, even the haters can't get enough of Sergeant Grizzly Grits. Friends, I had court this past week. And friends, everything got thrown away. Everything got tossed out, everybody. I didn't have to do a plea deal. I didn't have to go through no domestic violence, anger management courses, because I'm not a domestic violence guy. So it's a big misunderstanding. I don't know what to say to y'all haters out there. Keep it up, friends. Just keep it up. I keep praying for you. So, friends, I get all the firearms back this week. I know, friends. I know. It just burns your butt and all the guns go back where they belong for section. Oh, yeah. Friends, I told you, you can't keep a good soldier down. And you never will. I did, friends. I had to spend 3 days in the Orient Road jail, the county jail, because of that perverted, unqualified detective. Friends, the guy's, I think he's a closet guy for real. And all the detention deputies that I got to meet, now they were the real deal, friends. They don't like it, friends. Friends, these detention deputies, they're like the real deal. They're all looking for new jobs because they can't stand the Cronkster. And they all knew the Garrett Hackstad, that perverted detective. They all knew the guy. They say this guy's always arresting people for no reason at all. Friends, again, we can't control these things. Life's going to come at you, you know. The ministry work ain't for all y'all. A lot of y'all couldn't do what I do. And keep doing it. And keep doing it and doing it, friends. Friends, I was ministering when I was in jail. I was literally ministering like Paul and all these other folks when I was incarcerated. And friends, when it was time for me to go, I told them to wait because I was getting everyone's names and numbers. But I made so many friends in there. Black, white, brown, it didn't matter, friends. I told you, that Holy Spirit, it's for everybody. That's what the Pentecost was all about. My friends, that detective thought he was going to be sneaky. I was going to try to bond out, and he put my wallet with my laptop bag when he got me down to the Orange Road. So friends, I didn't have my wallet, so I didn't have my credit card to bond out. He wanted me to stay in jail until trial. But friends, when we started this live stream, I told you, the Lord Jesus and God, they're in charge of everything. And that was not in the Lord's plan. So shame on you, detective. I know you're watching right now. Friends, that Grizzly man told me when he was taking me to jail, he says he watches all my videos. I don't know what to tell you, detective. You need to repent, is what I did. You need to find a nice laser doctor to take all those girly tattoos off your arm. Oh my gosh, friends. Oh, Stephen, help me out, please. Friends, there ain't nothing more perverted than a cop that wants to try to act cool, gets a bunch of silly tattoos on his arms that have no meaning at all. Friends, every one of my tattoos, I designed myself. I'm an art guy for the last time. I'm not going to go pick some Aztec garbage like the Hagstad, all that guy. He might be Chad Chronister's son, friends. I don't know. Oh, wait, Chad Chronister's son went to jail for attempted murder. Look at that, friends. Don't that look nice? All right, let's find a few more, then we got to wrap it up, friends. We got to wrap it up. Friends, it is true. It is true, friends. Our wonderful sheriff, his son. Hold on, everyone. Friends, I'm certain the Cronkster's son and the congressman's son hang out together. Because the Cronkster's son, some years ago, he got in trouble for trying to kill somebody, another teenager. I don't know, friends, when you look at your children, it's kind of a reflection of the parents, in my opinion. Now, I know children are going to do what they want to do, and I'm not saying the congressman was into little children, but you just never know. Okay, friends, I think that one looks good. This one looks bad, but I don't have the D2 to put on it. I think we got a few more over here. Friends, let me just explain this to you. You'll never find me. You'll never find the Sergeant Major on any. Friends, I'm on lots of lists. Friends, when I first started doing this protest and stuff, and I first found out the FBI and Homeland were all looking into me, friends, I was terrified. Truly, I was. And it almost scared me enough to stop doing what I was doing. But now I look at it as like a badge of honor, you know? Because you're not going to find me on a sex pervert list. That'll never happen, friends. That ain't my cup of tea. And besides, the Bible is very clear about that type of behavior. A millstone, friends. Y'all know what a millstone is? Friends, a millstone. Friends, a millstone, what I understand, is what they used to use as anchors for the boats back in the olden days, the biblical days. So you throw it over the boat and it holds your boat down. It's a weight, friends. So, friends, the Bible is very clear that if you're going to harm children and do naughty, nasty stuff, well, it'd be better for you to tie a millstone around your neck and be tossed into the depths of the ocean. Friends, I don't make these rules up. That's the Lord Jesus for the last time. Friends, I think we're done. Friends, I think we're done. I might have missed one or two, but from all the ones that I remember, I think we got what we need to get done. And it's getting late, friends. I'm going to go home and hang out with the kids for a little while. Oh, friends, we might just hop in the pool. So again, friends, what did we learn this afternoon? Hold on here. Friends, I don't like come on here and complaining about things that I have no control over. Friends, I don't like the sheriff for many reasons. You know, some are personal, and some have nothing to do with me at all, you know. But I know that I'm an expert on identifying diversity, equity, inclusion wherever I see it, because I was a victim of it, friends. Friends, in the workplace at the Bay Pines VA, and friends, believe it or not, I've been a victim of diversity, equity, inclusion at every single VA that I've ever worked at. Hold on, friends, I'm putting up my tripod. we're not even, we're not live anymore. Did the phone overheat? Hold on. Okay. All right, friends, I'm so sorry about that. Look, friends. Friends, I am a Christian, and I am fully aware that the Bible says we must love thy neighbor. But friends, the Bible says a lot more to go along with that. We must accept our neighbors, but friends, we're not supposed to accept the sin. I can love you, but I can hate that sin in you that makes you want to be a homosexual or lust after children. Friends, again, for the last time, I was never harmed by one of these sex people. A sex pervert never got to me as a child. Because the Lord Jesus allowed my father to be a man like me, or me like him. Friends, my father's off with Jesus. He died at the age of 51 in the year 2007. It was literally like a year and a half, about a year and a half after I got back from that first tour. He died in an ultralight plane crash in Manatee County, friends. It's all true. I miss him tremendously. He'd be so proud of the man that I turned out to be. Because my father didn't like bullies either. He was sort of a loner like I was. Now, he didn't have to go through all the courts and all the other evil like I had to. But this is my story, friends. And he had his own demons and his own struggles. But right before he met Jesus, he was always a Christian, but I don't want to get into it, friends. It's very sad. But friends, my father protected my brother and I. And we had bullies from time to time picking on us. It was always older ones. They're a little bigger and stronger because they could pick on the little ones. So friends, when I talk about the people that want to harm the children, it ain't personal in a manner like I was harmed by these people. But I'm just going to explain to you. I know a lot of friends, a lot of battle buddies, some soldiers even, that have been. So again, friends, what can we do about it, people like that are a plight on society, And I'm a psychology guy, friends. I'm master level trained. And friends, there's just some things that you can't fix. Psychology can't fix those things. If someone has a sexual desire for children, friends, you can't go to therapy and get that fixed. I'm sorry. But my experience with the diversity, equity, and inclusion was, well, you remember what Obama told us? That the gay marriage was just so the man with the AIDS could go have his husband come in there and hold his hand before he goes off to hell in the hospital. Friends, they tricked us, is what I'm trying to explain to you. And they tricked a lot of y'all too. And they use those Bible verses to trick you and guilt you. But friends, that stuff don't work on me. Friends, I was accused of so much in the workplace. I was called hateful, a racist. I was called a January 6er. I was called white privilege. I was called all these things, friends. And none of them are true. But that diversity, equity, inclusion is real. And it has, in my opinion, it's destroyed what little bit of a country we had, everyone. And that's what it was designed to do. It was designed to divide and conquer. And to elevate people like Chad Chronister and his whole department of goons. Friends, not everybody in that sheriff's department's bad. There's a lot of folks in there that just don't like what's going on. But they got a job, and who wants to be unemployed, Not everybody has the kind of situation that I do, friends. I'm 100% service connected. And friends, I'm going on Social Security disability later on in the year. I got a nice big fat paycheck coming. Friends, I have not worked since I had my mental health relapse at the Bay Pines VA. Friends, I have not worked at all. I didn't even apply for unemployment. I prayed and God says, hold fast, my son. So friends, I'm going to have like $100,000 Social Security disability check coming my way later on this year. I'm going to be putting it in the ministry, friends, after I pay some bills off. So then I will be able to buy the pallet loads of D2. And I will be able to load up like 3 of my big water packs and have some of y'all volunteers come out here. I'll buy you lunch and we're going to get this place squared away. Because friends, that is what I can control. I can't control the Bay Pines VA. My protest did do a lot of work, friends. Friends, they were going to toss my lawsuit out. And I went out there and protested these demons for 2 weeks straight back in March of 2024. And I had 5 charges that were going to get tossed out. Well, friends, they added 4 more. Sometimes those things work, and sometimes they backfire on you. But when I was out there protesting the local county here, the Hillsborough County, of what they did to Mr. H.K. Edgerton, friends, I've got a whole new group of supporters, is what I'm trying to explain to you. Yeah, I had to spend a couple days in jail, and yeah, my family and I were separated for a little while. But again, friends, God and the Lord Jesus is in control of everything. And he told me I had to go out there and protest for Mr. H.K. Edgerton. And I'm so glad I did. Friends, what would y'all have done? Would y'all have taken that easy right over to Mission Barbecue and had your little free lunch for being a veteran? It's kind of selfish, isn't it? Not me, friends. When I saw that day, it reminded me of every day I had to deal with that crap at the Bay Pines VA. So again, friends, what did we learn today? Well, I learned there's not a lot that we can control in this life, but we can control our relationship with Jesus. We can control our behavior and what we say, and sometimes we do need to hold our tongue. I'm getting better, friends. But it's like every time I try to just forget about the sheriff and all the nightmare I had with all his incompetent deputies, and friends, there's a lot of good deputies. I see another news article of someone doing something that I know if I had done it in the capacity that I'm in, I'd be thrown away in jail. But a major being drunk on duty, friends. The top tier of his department all getting caught in a lying, cheating scandal with the FBI Academy. It's just one thing after another after another. And at some point, some of y'all got to start asking those questions that I'd love to ask. Why are we putting up with this? Why don't we demand this girly man resign? Why don't we go find somebody out there, somebody that can get the job done? Friends, it's a culture is what I'm explaining to you. Because I know for a fact that major, that was not the first time that guy showed up drunk. Friends, when I worked in Germany in the Special Operations Command, everybody showed up to work drunk. It was a culture, friends. But the time that I got the DUI, they kicked me out and sent me home. Because I literally exposed something that was going on in that whole place. And friends, I've been sober 3 years. So we got to start asking them questions. So look, friends, I need you to get out. Go find your cemetery. It's too easy, everyone. Just go to Google Maps, type in cemeteries, 10-mile radius from where you live. Or Baptist churches, friends. Almost every one of these little cemeteries is in the backyard of a Baptist church. And friends, if you don't have the funds, I would love to start doing starter kits sent out to y'all. I'll get you a nice pink bucket, friends. Friends, we're going to send one of these to Chad Chronister and all his other drunks. It's the Girly Man Awareness Month bucket, friends. That's why it's pink. Because we need to know who we're dealing with. A bunch of girly men. But friends, I'd love to send you a starter kit. I'll get you a bucket, some scrub brushes. I'll get you some of these things. So this is the bleach, friends. We don't use the bleach, but you got to have it just in case. And I'd love to send it to you down the road when I get some funds. And I told you, at some point, this lawsuit's going to be done, friends. At some point. And friends, I'm looking at the big bucks here. I'm looking at the max. And the max you can get out of one of these is $300,000. Friends, I was Baker Acted 3 times since I left my job. I lost all my guns and my gun rights 2 times. I had domestic nonsense thrown at me. Separation from my children. I mean, was I really kooky, friends? I don't think I was. I just handled my situation in a manner that a lot of y'all wouldn't have done. I just didn't sneak and put up with it. And I prayed. But all those things are going to help me out with my Social Security disability, friends. I can't work. I can't trust none of y'all. And I hate to be that way, everyone. I just don't trust none of y'all. But friends, you can get out in the cemetery. You can get to work. You can get spiritual. Bring your Bible, friends. I got my Bible up in there. I just haven't found time today to read it. And you got to get righteous, everyone. Friends, Jesus is going to come back at some point. Just like my lawsuit's going to be done at some point. And it'll be like a phone call or an email out of nowhere, friends. Or it could be like a thief in the middle of the night. And you better be prepared, friends. Friends, if you're looking at pornography or you're gambling or you're doing something you shouldn't be and Jesus comes back, well, friends, you're not going to know it. Not then, but then the wrath's going to happen to you and you're going to get left behind. I don't want that for none of y'all, friends. None of y'all. Not even the Cronkster or my worst enemies, friends, and these incompetent deputies that I had to deal with. Friends, these people, why I'm so hard on them is they had a lot of pleasure in watching me suffer. They had a lot of pleasure. They didn't like the fact that I was exposing these things. But again, friends, it ain't my place. This is my place out here in the cemeteries. And I tell you what, your Honorable Francis Judge Peroni, I had you all wrong, ma'am. I did. Friends, when I had to go before the judge on Tuesday, well, of course, the state tossed everything out because I said, oh, I'm not taking a plea deal. I'll see you at trial. And friends, there's no case, so they had to toss it out. But friends, God gave me the discernment that judge actually does care about children. And she really does want people to do the right thing. And she's got a very, very, very difficult job. I just didn't like her throwing the 2-year book at me, friends. Now I understand. The lady knew that I would figure a way to get out of it with the appeal or whatever. But when I had to go before her, we were like the last ones. Friends, my wife was with me. We were like some of the last ones to go. And friends, there was people getting like a year in jail, and a lot of the guys had the battery that went along. Friends, I sent a text to my mother-in-law. That's why all this happened to me. But friends, the judge, I could tell, she was very happy that we had worked things out. And she asked a lot of questions, not bad questions, but asked about the ministry and how we were doing and how the children were doing. And I just said, Your Honor, we were at the beach yesterday and had a real good time. And she said, well, how's your ministry doing? I said, well, I'm out cleaning up cemeteries in the Brandon area, and we got another community partner that we're working with. And she's like, oh, really? Well, that's really good. I'm glad to hear that. Friends, you just never know where life's going to take you. You just got to have an open mind, an open heart, and you got to learn to forgive people. I don't want to ever have to go before that judge ever again, friends. But again, I'm not scared of these things. You get spiritual. You understand that God allows these things to happen. God allowed me to go through all this. God allowed my wife, my family. And I guarantee you that judge and her crew there has never experienced a man like me that has gone through the courts like that. Because they knew all about my social media and all my protests, and they just didn't know what to do with me. And it's easier just to chuck it up like someone's crazy than to try to understand them. But every time that lady threw me a curveball, of course, friends, I caught it. Threw it right back at her. So then she figured out eventually that she was dealing with the real deal here, and I'm not a lunatic. I'm just a little smarter than some of y'all. Friends, I don't mean to be rude. It's just the truth. So look, friends, I got to wrap it up, and we got to get on out of here. I've been rambling on too long. I need to get home. I'm going to get in the pool tonight. So again, friends, if you need some help getting one of these little projects started, shout, friends. It's Sergeant_Grizzlegrits at Outlook.com. Sergeant_Grizzlegrits at Outlook.com. And friends, head over to GrizzlyArmy.com. That's the ministry website. I want to be updating it with all the new work parties we're going to be doing. And look, friends, if you're in the Tampa Bay area, and you want to come hang out, and you want to start doing some of this work, I could use some help, friends, and we could chat, we could fellowship. I'm not going to do no mental health counseling with you because I'm not certified. But I can do some peer counseling with you, and I can motivate your butt. So look, friends, we got to roll. Corporal Stevens, please. All right, friends, one last gander around the cemetery. Don't it look nice? All right, friends, we'll see you in a little while. Y'all stay groovy now. Grizzle 6 out.